Good evening, everyone. I hope you all are having an amazing weekend. It has been an absolute amazing January, I would say. 15 trading days, 180K. I'm seeing a lot of success among our members too, and it's nothing but amazing. But anyway, we have to prepare for ourselves for next week, what's to come, and all that, and that is what we'll go over in the next 30 to 40 minutes. And with that, without further ado, let me start with our weekend call things around the economic calendar, the earnings calendar, and then SPY, QQQ, and IWM. Then we'll talk about the charts that I've shared on Discord, and we'll go from there. Let me quickly pull up our Discord. We'll see where I can start this off. All right. So, firstly, getting into our Discord, first let's go over our weekly seasonality. Looks like a very, S&P. Again, I want to say this again, right? Like all the new members, this is not a projection of what's happening in the future. This is just a mere statistic as to what's happened in the past. What I see here is it kind of starts off very iffy. When I say very iffy, what I mean here is any number over 60 and under 40 is something that I take a little bit more seriously. Anything near 50 is a 50-50%, which is a coin flip, right? So what the weekly seasonality is telling you is Dow was up 52% of the time, S&P 500 57% of the time, and Nasdaq 52% of the time. With S&P 57% of the time, I just feel like IWM is the one that's going to lead starting the week. And as the week progresses, you see that Nasdaq is the one that is taking up the reins. So like you want to see what's happening on a trend basis when you're looking at the weekly seasonality. This is obviously the last week of January as well. Looks like usually like last week of January kind of looks like a pretty flat kind of week. So overall, but this is it's a crazy week. I'll go over the week, the earnings calendar and then the economic calendar, and you know more. But like this is kind of crazy, right? Like with so many things going on. But this is how the weekly seasonality kind of looks. Tuesday seems to be a little bit more greener and more trending up kind of thing. The other days is mostly the weekly seasonality is not giving you as much of details per se. So keep an eye out for that on the weekly seasonality front. The next one is the earnings calendar. This is very important as well. There's quite a few names that are reporting and which are important to look for. First one, Tesla. Our shares are called off. Any kind of dip, I'm going to look into how to scoop up those cheap shares if it does dip after its earnings. I did post out most of the flow data and what I'm seeing on the flow. When you look into the game plan channel, I have a very elaborate and detailed flow where the OIs are sticking and where like which strikes people are targeting kind of thing. So keep definitely read through that. Next one is Meta, a lot of 700 calls. Microsoft, a lot of 460 calls. Powell has in store, because there are two major things that I'm looking for. One is the core CPI ticking down, and that does that, influence his decision on. Uh, Give me one moment. People, I lost audio. Give me one moment. Uh, are you able to hear me right now, or? Okay. So anyway, this so FOMC rate decision. This is something that you want to look out for. The core CPI ticking down. That is something that does that change the stance on what Powell has to say with respect to cutting more aggressively into 2025. They just said 2 cuts this year. So if he says 3 or 4 cuts, and if he starts to talk about more optimistically with respect to the inflation and things like that, so that will definitely trigger a much bigger FOMO style of a move. So keep an eye out for that as well. Other than that, there are other important ones that you want to look out for, right? The next important one, obviously, the core PCE, which is one of the Fed's favorite price index to look and gauge inflation. So keep an eye out for that. Next one is the GDP. These are the three main events that I'm focusing on this week. If you're swinging some weeklies, be careful. A lot of landmines this week. You want to give yourself some time. I will definitely be sizing down this week. I've been very aggressive this year, so I will be sizing down to like 2K, 3K kind of bets, from all the way from 15 to 20K bets that I was doing. Now I'll be doing about 2 to 3K. I'll obviously give you the number of contracts that I'm buying on every single time. I probably think Google is the only one that I will size up on, but otherwise, most of the time, it will be small tiny trades that I'll be doing. I'll try to pick some hedges also along the way if I see some kind of a downturn kind of thing. So we'll go from there, and we'll see how the market kind of reacts for these specific ones on the economic front. All right, let me quickly put the Discord to the other screen, so that I have the list of stocks that I've shared with you, and I can talk about them as well. First, anyway, we start off with SPY on the 65-minute time frame. Let's go to the 65-minute time frame. Ever since we got this island bottom, remember this, I told you the market is going much higher, and that is why we picked up all these swings. We were like, God, this is going to go crazy. So we did exceptionally well, right? So right now we are breaking out. If you go on to the daily, also I talked about this last week, where ES, which is the futures market, actually broke out, but then the cash market did not. But it is taken as a bullish sign, and we gapped up and we just chugged higher, right? So let's see what happens again this week. What I am expecting, every week I show you this. If we go straight up and break through this 61050 wall, we are going to 614. If we are going down and trying for a retest, this particular trend line here on the daily, you saw this on the daily also, just when I went into the daily, I'll show it to you again. But this trend line retest is where I will size into my swings again. So this is one of the best entries that you can get into the market at the moment, right? So I don't really care if the market is going down or up in the futures market, but given that, that's my idea there. Like, if I'm able to snag something here, if I'm able to grab a good size position there, and we have a nice little, even if it is a dead cat bounce, you'll probably make some good money there. So keep an eye out for that. I'm giving you this particular level here, this particular trend line here, also because you have a nice, sorry, you have a nice level here, which can also act as support, and if that is broken, you have a very nice defined stop loss where you can get out with very minimal loss. So keep an eye out for that. And I don't think this trend line will break down. Even if it does, I did not draw the bull gap here. I don't know why I didn't do that, but I will do that right now. But this looks absolutely wonderful, right? Like, every bull gap fell, right? Like, actually, let me draw that bull gap there. and you will see what I'm trying to show you also, right? So this bull gap fill, like this bull gap fill and the trend line support, this is like a dual support that you're having. So that is an amazing entry that you can get if you have a dip, and there is no reason to be fearful about that at all, according to me at the moment, because your stop loss is so well defined there. Every bull gap fill will act as support. The trend line retest is going to act as support. There is no reason for me to say that zone is not by the dip. Like, yeah, so that's the trend line, and that is where I think a retest of that trend line will be a perfect entry, and um, I will be looking out for that for a bigger size swing trade that I can take probably for the mid Feb, or for the end of March, or early April or anything like that, and we'll probably look to make that 30-50% trade kind of thing. If you put in 30-50 grand, 25,000, not bad at all, right? So keep an eye for that trend line, and we'll go from there. Next one is QQQ. Once that 534 breaks, we are looking at all-time highs here on QQQ. Any kind of dip towards that 526 to 520, I think 520 will not be lost on QQQ. And like 526 to 520, this is a good buy the dip scenario. But if we do get a retest of this trend line, I'll probably go long on stocks as well. But like, we'll see what happens here. But 534 is my sense to go long on momentum on any kind of backtest. I'll be looking out for 526 and 520 this week. So keep an eye out for that on QQQ. Next one. Hello. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know what's happening with my mic, but some issues in my Discord right now with my mic right now. But I'll try to be as aware of the process. But IWM is the one that I'm really liking here. If you see, it tried to break out on Friday. It did not happen yet, but 229 is something that I'll be watching out very closely for a very nice move towards 232 to 236 kind of scenario here on IWM to show like a bigger size kind of move that can happen here on in the market, and we can probably see 236 by the end of January on IWM. So keep an eye out for this trend line here. I'm more interested and more bullish on IWM than QQQ per se, with how this thing is looking. But overall, this looks great. I mean, this is I think 236 is something that you can expect here from IWM. So into the end of January. So keep an eye out for that. IWM is something that I'm really interested in. Really try to break out on Friday. This is why I was also looking for plays on IWM. We hit 200% trades on IWM, I believe, and it was great wins. Like $7,000, $8,000 bets, and we made like $4,000, $5,000 on each, which is great. And we'll see how to play this IWM again this week. So keep an eye for that on IWM. All right, let's go over the charts as well. We'll see what to do here. First, actually, let me go over the top 3 trade ideas for the week. First, like the third on the list is obviously going to be D-Dog. That's something that I'm looking out for. like I'm looking out for this trend line break above 142.50 to play the 145 calls here on DDOG. With an inside day on Friday, I'm looking out for that break to the upside. Anything to the downside, I would want to see 140 break down to play the 138 puts. But I'm more interested in playing the trend line break to the upside towards 147 than trying to play puts. Anything towards 138 is something that I'll pick up for, for a play to the upside on DDOG. So keep an eye out for that on DDOG here. So nice little trend line inside day on Friday. A big move is brewing here on DDOG. This is how big the moves usually look like. Like I'll show you what's happening with DDOG when they have an inside day. You see this inside day here. See the move here, right? And then it has the inside day here, and then see the move, right? Like big moves happen again inside days, and then big moves happen. So you want to look out for that. The DDOG is one of those stocks that can do some big moves, so keep an eye out for that on DDOG. Overall, guys, I am looking at my server and seeing why that audio is going bad, but I will make my best effort to not have that happen again. But if it does, give it a couple of minutes and the audio will be back. So that's something that I can tell you here. Anyway, next one is that's DDOG. So So anyway, the second on the list is Carvana. Here we have a nice little, like it's a breakout, right? Like it tried to break out and it did not close above the trend line. So I'm looking out for this 145 call here, 145 break here towards sorry, 245 call here towards 250 and then 260. I think if IWM is going to be strong, Carvana, which is going to be which is one of the heavyweights in the index, is going to break out as well. So keep an eye out for that 250 call here on Carvana. If 236 kind of breaks down, that's when we have some issues towards 220. But I don't see Carvana breaking out like that, because most of look at the volume price analysis here, right? Like all the pops have been on good size volume, all the dips have been on low volume as well. So I do think Carvana is going to 250 and 260 above. So keep an eye out for that. 250 call is something that you want to keep on your watch list on Carvana, and this is the number 2 on the list. Last but not the least, you have Google, which is the trade idea for the week. I did post out the strikes. You can check out our channel, our YouTube channel. I'm going with the GOOG 210 call for 131 expiry. If there is a dip, I definitely would appreciate it for me to get in. If it gaps up, there's nothing I can do. But I mean, I want to talk about this a little bit more on a separate video that I'll be posting out very soon, where I can show you how relative strength and relative weakness kind of looks in the market, and you can definitely understand why I don't trade the indices as much as I like to trade these individual stocks, and why it is advisable to trade these individual stocks when you are a new trader as well. Volume price analysis, this is an absolutely easy and one of the key things that I use for my trading, and I'll tell you that I have been extremely successful using it. There's no hassle about understanding the indicator, this and that. It's all volume and price. As long as you understand that, it's going to be great. So GOOG 210 calls for 131 expiry. That's the one I'll be looking out for on the Friday day high break. And 205 and 211 are my price targets here on Google. So keep an eye out for that on Google. And GOOG and GOGL both move similarly. It does not matter which one you take. But if you're taking GOOGL, I would probably recommend you take 205. If you're taking GOOG, 210 call might be a better option, because GOG has a little bit of price fluctuation with respect to being a little bit higher than GOOGL. So keep an eye out for that on Google. All right. Next, let's talk about individual stocks that we have. First one is Apple. Again, I told you this one is going to report earnings this week, and I'm not a huge fan of Apple at all this year. Looking at the weekly time frame, also, I don't see any reason to. There's really nothing that gives me uh, any conviction, like probably, yeah, to this 220 area is a good area to buy the dip on, and sell covered calls for like 230 or 240 calls. Again, I think it'll stay in range. I think it'll stay flat, not giving you much of returns on Apple. That's what I'm thinking here. And I'm not a particular fan of, I mean, I trade Apple quite a bit. I love Apple because it was one of my biggest holdings for about 11 years before I sold it. But uh, Apple is a great company. I'm not denying any of that. But probably this year is not the year to be investing in Apple because there are so many other opportunities to go after. Is what I think. If you're looking for levels to play after earnings, any dip under 220, I would be probably looking for buying the dip on Apple, and then any kind of rip above 230 is something that I want to look out for, the 235 or 240 calls on Apple. So keep an eye out for that on Apple. These are a few levels that I'm looking out for it. Airbnb. Someone asked me, this was a chart request. It looks like an ugly chart. I know it looks like a falling wedge, nice little flag. This is one of my failed trades for the trade idea for the week. I did not take it. We did not lose any money, but it just didn't break out. It just didn't follow the rules. So I don't trade this one at all because it did not follow my convictions or my trades or things like that, right? Um, so I don't want to trade this anymore. I'll be looking out for that 225, 125.50 retest on Airbnb if you are really interested in trading it. I think there's quite a bit of down move that is possible towards 119 to 120 here on 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 uh, on the break of this 125.50. So keep an eye out for that. If you want to play the upside, 134 is something that you want to look out for on Airbnb. Next one is AMD. I do hold a lot of shares on this near 140. I sold a lot of covered calls, so my cost average is quite low from where I bought it. But then, I mean, this is a stock that has not been doing much at all. I know Intel is also reporting earnings this week. Uh, Not really interested in the stock at all to even trade. Look at the candles; they're very small, not really having any momentum. Nothing really fancy to play either. There's no momentum. This is again a chart request, so I want to talk about it. I'm just talking about it, but I'm just not having AMD on my watch list. I'll tell you this though: I've traded AMD quite a bit, and I trade it really well to pick up swings, and these swings come when the trends break, when there is these trends break, and I tend to cash them. So I need to see a very clear trend line break, and I'll be looking out for on the weekly time frame, or probably this see, it broke down the upper lower trend line, so I'm not really interested. It hit the price target at 119 120 as well. So I'm not really interested in it. The only time I'll be interested in AMD is when it breaches above like that 150 barrier, and that's where I'll be more interested in playing AMD. So keep an eye out for that on AMD for this upper trend line on the weekly time frame. Next one is Amazon. This is one of my favorite setups. I talked about this last week also. This was number one. We had the AVGO and Amazon both as number one last week. If you can go back to our weekly call, and you'll see that as well. This is great, right? It broke out that upper trend line, nice bull flag, and it went to the target at 237. I did see some 245 calls, 245 calls mostly being picked up on Amazon last week. These guys are already still in position. They are down about 40-50%, I guess. But keep an eye out for that. And like I think Amazon is a great proxy play for UPS as well. If Microsoft blows through their earnings on the cloud front, Amazon is another one that can explode higher as well. All cloud stocks will. So keep an eye out for that on Amazon. Next one is, let's see, what's the next one? Next one is AVGO. Where is AVGO? Right, AVGO broke through the. This was something that I was very fascinated to look at in the lounge as well. Like that it kind of makes me proud, and it kind of makes me very satisfied with the job that I'm doing with respect to the Discord and all that. I remember I played this. I played the rip towards 246. I sold that, and then when it gapped down, and like I saw that everybody were on AVGO calls. Like I wouldn't say everybody, but then majority of them were on AVGO calls during the retest of this trend line. They were like, "This is the best entry on AVGO, 250 calls, this and that," and they got in. And like next day, what happened on AVGO. But like that it kind of makes me very satisfied to see people doing their own trades, people understanding what we are doing with respect to trading. They're not scared when it gapped down, and when they saw the entry, they got in. And if you see one of my YouTube videos where I talk about the perfect entry into your stock trading, is the retest, the break of the trend line. You can play the momentum. A retest of the trend, a back test of this trend line is where you can play with a very specific stop loss as well. Right now, I think AVGO is also, like, if you look into the 65-minute chart, it is basically an island bottom, and any kind of fill of that island bottom, I will be looking out for playing calls as well. So 240 will be a strong support on AVGO. So keep an eye out for that on AVGO. All right, next one is Bitcoin. This was a chart request again. I'm not very keen or interested on Bitcoin until and unless that 10,000, I mean, 106K is reclaimed. Once 106K is reclaimed, 112 and 120 are going to come through. With Trump in office, I would say they would run it up to 150 to 180 pretty soon. At least in like 6 to 8 months, and then the dumping might start. So we'll see what happens there. But if they do, pop it up very, very hard, chase it and make money and get out. Don't be the last person to turn off the lights, right? Like make money, use the momentum, make money, and this is something that you can go look back also, right? Like when US dollar was decoupled from gold, how they got silver from almost like $3 or something all the way to $50, but then they squeezed the person out who was actually buying physical gold by putting a cap on how much silver can each person can hold. Government makes policies like these, and sailor will be squeezed out of Bitcoin. He can buy Bitcoin as long as Bitcoin stays elevated, as long as it goes higher. If it goes lower, he cannot buy it. He will be squeezed out of it. I'm not even kidding about it. But anyway, if you don't want to believe me, you can go back, do your own research about this silver squeeze back in the day, and how government policies changed, and they squeezed out this guy who was up about, back in the day, he was up about $60 billion on silver squeeze, and then he could not even sell it because banks were not taking it, and then he legally he was not able to hold it. There's a nice little use case around it. You can probably look for that as well. But don't like, I'm not saying I will be selling out all my Bitcoin. I'm just saying there will be a drop for after a Hail Mary kind of run, and that will be your cue to get out or scale out or something like that if you want to. For me, Bitcoin is going to have a million, and a minute, and this is an asset that I'll pass it down through generations, is what I kind of think. But if you're looking for like a short-term kind of trade, 106K is what I'll be looking out for. And if 100K is lost, 92K is your buy the dip scenario. But I do see quite a bit of drop under 100K as well. So keep an eye out for that on Bitcoin. Next one is CAT. Obviously, they are having earnings this week. DE is a proxy play that you can look out for on CAT's earnings. But about two or three weeks back, I talked about how CAT is dipping and then it's coming close to this trend line, which is a trend line that it kind of broke. Again, the same thing AVGO did in like a few weeks, but then the retest of the trend line is what we were watching, and then there was no stopping CAT there, right? So keep an eye out for this. It is looking like we will be testing all-time highs here on CAT. So quite a bit of move towards 420 coming out on CAT. I know there was a 7x play that many people caught on CAT last week, based off the 400 call that I was talking about, and it was great. I did not play it personally because it jumped as soon as I said, "Hey guys, a 400 call is something that I'm looking out for," and I did not get an entry, which is totally fine. Like that is how options trading works. I made money on something else, so really, really, really don't care. But I'm very happy that people were able to get in and like make some good money there. So keep an eye out for that on CAT. 420 is the target here. Any kind of retest of this trend line is by the dip scenario here on CAT. If this trend line kind of breaks down, that's where I'd be a little bit more careful on CAT here as well. So this is what I'll be looking out for on CAT. Next one is Costco. XLP is definitely, it's basing, I would say, and Costco, to the best of my knowledge, this is something that I kind of forced. This is not something that you want to look for, but once we see some kind of attraction in Costco, XLP sector as a whole will start moving higher. Again, by the dip scenario that I was talking about around 900, it just dipped and it gave you a second chance here as well, making higher highs and higher lows, right? Like this is where things get interesting for me, right? Like if you see these are lower highs and lower lows kind of scenario, but now it's kind of shifting, right? Like you're seeing higher highs, higher highs and higher lows kind of scenario. So that is why I started getting interested in Costco, trying to see if there's a nice little trend line that can break, and we can probably play it. If there is strength, I'll definitely let you know. Something that is there on my watch list right now, and if we do see some rotation into some defensive sectors or XP, for that matter, we'll try to target Costco here and play it to the upside. So keep an eye out for that on Costco. Next one is Disney. Disney is a nice, beautiful chart here, which kind of broke out as well. You can say, okay, this is a peekaboo setup. Why didn't you have Disney as one of your trade ideas for the week? Disney does not follow my rules. It is one of those stocks which does not align with my personality, so I don't trade it. But then I definitely want to let you know. You can probably take some 114, 115 call spreads or 114, 116 call spreads here on Disney for a very nice gain for 131, or you can also go a couple of weeks out and play the spread. That's the way that I would love to play Disney, but overall, Disney is one of those very bad stocks to trade because it moves very slow and does not make as much money. But overall, this is a nice little peekaboo kind of setup. I would definitely say this is a peekaboo setup. Any kind of retest here towards 110, 111, 112, 111.50 to 112 is the dip kind of scenario towards 114. If you're taking the 114 call, definitely go 2 to 3 weeks out here on Disney. So keep an eye out for that on Disney. Next one is Meta, and after that Microsoft coming up. All right, Meta broke out. I talked to you about this nice little peekaboo setup. I know quite a few of you caught the 650 call, 640 call, and all that on Friday as well. Very, very nice setup here, and it kind of boomed. 660, 700 call is something that I'm looking out for May, for April, May, and June. That the whales are in position on Meta. I'm not going to trade earnings. You all know that, but if Meta wants to move higher, this is where I think it will probably move towards 700 after earnings. So keep an eye out for that on Meta. Next one is MSFT. This one, 460 calls. 460 calls are being taken on May, June, August time frames, lot of puts that are being sold. So keep an eye out for that on Microsoft. Quite a bit of move that is possible. If that 453 kind of breaks, it will ravage. And nice little inside days here. I don't think Friday was an inside day. Yeah, it was probably not an inside day. Double inside day. Otherwise, it would be a double inside day. But irrespective, this is a nice compression that's going on, and 450 plus is what I'm looking for here. 460 is definitely something that I'm looking out for after earnings here on Microsoft. So keep an eye out for that. Next one is, let's go all the way down. Snow. Again, one of the players with Microsoft. If 178 breaks, this is also a proxy play that you can play for Microsoft earnings with 180 calls. I do think 185 or 187 is possible on Snow on Microsoft earnings. If Microsoft blows it out of the park, Snow is the one that will run. 180 calls is something that you can take as a lotto here into Microsoft earnings on Snow. So keep an eye for that. Last but not the least, Tesla. I am looking out for a dip on Tesla after earnings. If it does dip, I'm looking out for somewhere around the 380 zone. If it gaps under 380, 350, I'm definitely buying Tesla here. A lot of 350 puts that are sold into its earnings into June, May, on different time frames. 800 calls being picked up, 700 calls being picked up. I'm pretty interested in Tesla and buying the dip on Tesla, and we can go from there. But that's something that I'm looking out here for Tesla. So anyway, that's my last chart for today, and I hope this call was informative. Sorry about the microphone. I'll try to fix it after later tonight. But if I do see anything else, I'll definitely let you know. Don't fall for all these black swan event with DeepSeek and all that nonsense. It will just fade away. Everything will be by the dip. I generally trade charts, and if there is a dip, I already told you where to buy the dip, and what to look for on the dip as well. So keep an eye out for that, and we will play the market accordingly. Let's kill it again next week, and I hope you all are having an amazing weekend as well. That